What's something you saw that you weren't definitely supposed to see? A text from my wife to someone else. I can't wait to feel every inch of you deep inside me. Divorce is going okay. I have the same first name as the CFO of my former employer. The CEO was not very technically savvy, and emailed me confidential company documents more than once. Edit. Wow. Thanks all. 30k upvotes just because my CEO was an idiot. My dad gave me his phone to order something because mine was out of battery, and on Google the first tab I see is, how to tell your child a loved one is dying. My mum has been ill for years now and I've been in denial about it getting any worse, but this finally broke me. I was living with my girlfriend and her parents. One day I run down the stairs real quick to use the bathroom to see her parents getting down and dirty under the blanket on the couch. At this point it was too late to turn around, so I just ran past them. I use the bathroom and come out to her dad waiting in the kitchen. Most awkward moment I've had when it comes to parents lol. I was a nosy child and I was looking through my grandmother's address phone number book. She had little post-its tucked in random places. I came across a note that was a list of things she wanted to do to be happy, and one of them was, find a man that loves me. My grandfather had died a while back, probably 8 years previous. It didn't make me sad then, but it really does now because she has dementia and can't remember things that happened a few seconds ago. When I was young, maybe 6 to 8, I was at my grandparents' house. I was talking with my grandma and said, I wonder if there is a website named after me. She was just as curious as me, so we go to look it up. I type in my name then. And to both of our horrors it was a porn website. Definitely going to go with my grandmother's vibrator. Saw my upstairs neighbor and another man push a crying girl through a door. I knew they were involved in drug-related business, so I felt it necessary to call the police despite suspecting that I was being a busybody. I'd asked for my name to be kept out of the case, so I wasn't told the specifics. But my neighbor was gone for good, so he was definitely up to no good. I needed a USB drive at work one day, and asked one of my coworkers if I could borrow one. It didn't work though. For some reason files wouldn't transfer to it. I started looking around for clues and found an absolute massive porn collection on there. The coworker was looking over my shoulder the whole time. The only thing I could think of to say was, interesting. Living out in the country. When I was 10 years old, my parents went to the local video rental place and brought back a few VHS. They told me to pop in Planet of the Apes. I did, and whoever had it before didn't rewind it and it started mid-video. And all you heard was moaning, and all I saw was an eyeful of dig and angina. And I stared glued to the TV. And my parents freaked out and ran to turn off the TV. Apparently the small video rental store back then doubled as an adult video store as well, and somehow they accidentally grabbed a copy of Playmate of the Apes by accident. When I was 8, I saw my mom have a seizure due to being physically addicted to alcohol and her trying to quit. It was a very violent seizure and I went into shock. In the terms of traumatic childhood events, I probably was not supposed to see that, but I have quite a few. I went to pay a ticket I got while driving with my headlights turned off. I walked into the courthouse office I was supposed to be in and looked through the glass to see the elected male sheriff giving the female magistrate a back and shoulder rub. They both went white when I knocked on the glass. The sheriff immediately stopped and walked to another room. The magistrate gave me the weirdest look and said, I guess Christmas came early for you. Stamp, and gave me the receipt of the voided ticket. Sometimes it pays to see something you're not supposed to see. My mom's suicide plan. She had a small notepad that she kept in her dresser drawer. It had her planning on trying to make it look like an accident so my dad could collect the insurance money. She almost even went through with it one day, but from my understanding my brother unexpectedly came home early from either school or a friend's and she didn't go through with it. One time I went to a concert at a dive venue that was tucked away in some back alleys. Was having a dart with a buddy out front during the show, and amidst the surrounding abandoned housing, I saw two dudes make an exchange of what looked very much to be a bag of guns and a bag of money. The bigger dude instigating the handoff immediately noticed and made eye contact with me. He slowly started reaching towards his waist. I held my cool and casually looked back towards my buddy who was drunkenly ruining a joke and followed him back inside. I know what I saw. The man knew I saw him. I didn't look back. My mom and her male friend frocking in our barn when I was 9 years old. After that our parents divorced and never spoke with each other again. I'm now 37. My mom's old friend came over. She is a little crazy but sweet, too. She said I looked just like her daughter. And then spent about 10 minutes scrolling through her camera roll with me to find a picture of her. In the process I saw like 2 to 3 dig pics. She was a bit embarrassed but just said, I'm sure you've seen a penis before. Sorry. I assured her it was fine. Honestly, by the looks of the dig I was more concerned for her. Grandpa's porn stash. After he passed away in the hospital, I went straight to his room and purged it. I was definitely not supposed to see my former boss banging the woman from the housekeeping agency. I was also not due the 35% raise that came my way the following month, but hey. Seeing one of my neighbors committing suicide by jumping out the window. Nothing like I've read on this post so far. But one time, right after turning 21, my dad takes me to one of his friends' new bar, and we're drinking, having fun. I realize at one point I lost my dad, so I go looking for him. And I find him in the back room. He's with one of my friends that works in the kitchen at the restaurant we all work at together, and my dad is instantly, "Get out of here. Don't look. Just go." It took me a couple years to realize they were doing lines off the pinball machine. Borrowed my now ex-husband's laptop one evening while I was at home and he was out with his friends. Browser was open to his Gmail account, including an ongoing GCHAT with his mistress. He must have been chatting with her from his phone, because their convo continued on the screen as I looked on in horror. I scrolled back through the previous several weeks of their chat. He mentioned having a wife. He sent her dig pics. So many dig pics. He gushed over his feelings for her, but she mostly seemed to want to hit him up for money. It was horrifying, of course, but also a terribly sad look into that douchebag's inner life. Divorced now, thankfully. Good riddance to bad rubbish. My ex's Reddit where he was asking for relationship advice. My mom blowing a guy on the couch. Edit. I also remember walking in on my dad jacking off. Guess he should have worked it out with mom. When I was a kid, I was playing with my dad's phone and stumbled upon a video of him and his coworkers fingering the receptionist. Album and a shoebox full of Polaroid 6 shots of my grandmother. VHS tapes of my grandparents having group 6 with other people. Their bestiality fetish tapes. Their Nazi paraphernalia. Found it all while clearing out my grandfather's trailer after he died. Also found jars full of piss. But I don't think he cared whether I saw those or not. Just a couple days ago, I was trying to find the power supply of a monitor I haven't used in a couple months. Soon enough, I opened a drawer and found my brother's girlfriend's dildo. I only found out what it was as soon as I touched it. I teach high school. While I was taking attendance at the beginning of a Zoom class a few months ago, one of the girls in the class was clearly video chatting with her boyfriend on the side, because she lifted up her shirt for him and flashed the whole class. That made for an awkward communication to her parents. My brother and I were very curious children. One day he pulled me into our spare bathroom all excited because he had found a huge surprise in the garbage can beside the toilet. Inside the garbage can there was a tortilla chip bag with a whole bunch of rolled up things inside. We opened it up thinking that they were surprise toys, like Kinder Surprise. Left inside the bag by accident. Nope. They were my mom's bloody pads. A gun pulled on someone's head over a shoe that was left at another man's house. My wife's stepmom dated a guy who shared my name. She sent the titty pic to the wrong contact. She was around 60 at the time. I deleted it and took the opportunity to get off my ass and down to the cell phone shop for a new phone and a new number. I then texted all of my contacts saying I'd gotten a new number and may have missed anything they sent in the last 4 hours. I created a perfect excuse for us never to speak of even the possibility of something so wrong, but I still haven't drunk enough to forget it. In the 7th grade, one was walking out of the locker room. I heard the girls' locker room door open, and me being a human responded at a sudden noise and looked over to see one of the girls walk out. We make normal human eye contact. At this point everything is normal, but in the corner of my eye, I was somehow at a perfect angle to see one of my classmates with her pants down. Needless to say, I worked hard to consciously not look in that direction again. Yesterday my dog was barking while I was FaceTiming a friend. I went out to the gate to see what he was barking at. It's 9 feet high, and peeped through the handhole to see my next door neighbor taking a piss on the land between our places. I saw his dig, then he was looking at my eye. He said, "It's okay buddy," which is my dog's name. So yesterday I saw my next door neighbor's dig, then held eye contact for a second. My boss steal money out of our cash register. My parents hooked the home camera up to the TV. I saw about 10 seconds of my mother reverse cowgirling my dad. Didn't feel like finishing my drawing at all. I just walked out the room and sighed with childhood hatred. When I was 7 or 8 I watched my 70-plus neighbor have a heart attack and drop to the ground. Face completely blue. Eyes rolling into the back of his head, about a meter away from me. I feel like there was blood too, but I'm not 100% sure about that bit. I had to run and get an adult to call an ambulance. I'm positive I saw him momentarily die, but the paramedics managed to bring him back. No child should have to see that. It's frocked up. My Christmas presents when I was 6. I opened the trunk of the van and I saw all of them. The Super Smash Bros. Melee video game and the GameCube. I cried. My ex cheating on me. I woke up early and saw her photo light up. I thought it was mine. I didn't have my glasses on and sure enough, bam. Bumble and Tinder was open. Later I said when she got up, "So who's Mark?" Her face fell. I shouldn't have looked, but it made sense as to her secrecy. The CFO left paperwork on the printer that indicated the director-level employees were getting 100K bonuses and making 150K, 3 times the managers at my company. We were laying people off while these sacks of shit were getting paid big time. When I was a kid, one time I went through my grandma's jewelry box. I found a little flash drive at the bottom mixed in with the miscellaneous and broken jewelry. Being as I was immediately curious as to what secrets might lie within, I plugged the flash drive into my older brother's PC. There was a video titled, Oregon Farm 2011. I clicked on it and immediately saw the most horrific thing anyone could possibly imagine. It was a bald man with an extremely large penis inserted in my grandma's mouth. I panicked and immediately turned off the screen. It was too late. The image was burned in my mind. I put the flash drive back. I've never said anything about it and don't plan on it. I'll probably take it to the grave. Saw my uncle banging my friend's mom. My mom would always make me do the Coca-Cola rewards on her phone, but I never could remember the password to her account, so I would usually go back in her history to just open up the tab again. Found some porn and an article. Best 6 positions for women. This was just a couple of days before my parents' anniversary too. In elementary, I saw my teacher peeing on a bucket in our class storage. Don't ask why she didn't use the bathroom. And no, she's not old. I just came back in a few hours and this whole thread became an English class lol. I was at a party at an acquaintance and his girlfriends. They had a nice apartment and quite expensive taste in clothing, furniture, art, and liked to travel a lot. They also liked to show off this lifestyle on social media. Anyway, later in the evening my phone was dying, so I asked if they had a charger I could borrow. I was told there was one in the top drawer of a dresser, so I went there. But there were 2 top drawers, so I just opened the first one and it was stuffed with debt collection claims and payment reminders. It was so full, it was about to spill out onto the floor. The other drawer had the charger. After that I have always been skeptical of people showing off their lavish lifestyles on social media. I once walked in on my dad singing Go Go Power Rangers with a red Power Ranger suite on. Edit for everyone saying stuff about at least it isn't the pink one. He actually just got married to the girl in the group who dressed up as the pink Power Ranger. Also thank you for all the upvotes and awards. Just last week I gave one of my friend a ride to the grocery store and he was with his girl. They get in the back seat and my friend tells me his phone is dead and to put it on the charger for him. I plug it in and guess what? It's not dead. The screen lights up and it's a full frontal of his girlfriend completely naked. Her nipples are pierced and I'd imagine I wasn't supposed to see that. I immediately lock it and hand it back, playing it off like nothing happened at all. When applying for an internship I accidentally got CC'd on an email from the CEO to her second-in-command asking if they could assign a certain person to be my supervisor even though she was on her way out. That person did in fact become my supervisor for the semester. And I was on my guard, knowing that they didn't trust her. It served me well. She left a few months after I did. Back in 2011 or so my sister plugged her iPhone into my iMac to download some iMusic from iTunes. I don't know what series of things she clicked, but all of the pics on her phone copied into my Photos app without her realizing it. A few days later I opened my photo app and got quite an eye full. So many nudes. When I was 9 I walked past an exhibitionist. He showed me his dig in the middle of the street and asked, little girl, is it pretty? I glanced at him, saw what he showed me and immediately turned my head without a word and just picked up the pace. It was a weird experience. My parents' porn tape, they put it at the end of one of our family home videos FFS. To my horror, I was showing my boyfriend at the time our home videos, so he could see me as a baby. So the video cuts, goes to fuzzy gray for a minute, then cuts straight to my 80s mom on the couch masturbating. Then saw my dad pull out his dig and balls while smiling at the camera before I could rush to turn it off. Forever burned in my mind. Edit. Thanks for the rewards and making my trauma also my top comment guys. Lol, appreciate it. A dishonest idiot kid at a concession stand at a nature center stealing money from the cash register while making change for me for a purchase. My ex-boyfriend wanted to show me something online but accidentally opened a tab for a site selling engagement rings. He was embarrassed and I thought it was sweet even if it was a bit soon. Edit. We broke up a few months ago. He was my first love and it broke my heart. Witnessed my father perform a helicopter dig at my mother through a mirror. Meaning I witnessed his pasty fat white ass and wrinkly gremlin penis. Edit. I don't know how to feel about my first comment to get more than 100 upvotes being about my dad's dig. When I was 8 I went into my mom's room and I saw her on the floor frocking her boyfriend. She is a single mom. After that I never went in without knocking. I saw a guy commit suicide by shotgun on our street. Just the top part of his head was gone and blood everywhere. I don't remember much, but no human should ever have to come to that or see that. Terrifying. I saw a lot of people get shot. It was in Las Vegas. You know the rest. Never been so scared, afraid in all my life. Still has nightmares. My mum shoot heroin into her arm multiple times and proceeding to pass the FK out whilst I was under the age of 7. Walked into the bathroom to see my elderly nana and her old lady puss. My sister getting fingered. Bad times 0/10 would Mo recommend. Edit. One thing my nana never should have seen was my first boner at 6Y. Oh. This was a separate incident. You guys really like to bring out the repressed memories, hey? My mom having 6. It was the longest 2 seconds of my life. Worse was when she noticed I came in. She said my name. I saw the lady who was telling me she needed money to get home to her daughter throwing up malt liquor on the side of the 7-Eleven when I was pulling in earlier. After reading all of the other comments, accidentally seeing the rather large boobs of a very good friend of mine seems quite causal. Nice try MIB. Mom and dad wrestling under the sheets. Edit. Thank you. Kind stranger. Turned the corner and saw my boyfriend take his life with a gunshot to his head. Terrible. Frocking 2 girls 1 cup. I hated this day to the end of my life. My 40s. I survived being 6 trafficked. So a whole frocking lot. Edit. Wow. I never expected this to blow up. I'm completely stunned at how many comments and DMs people have sent. I have talked a little about being trafficked in some other comments before this one and they never received so much feedback. It makes me appreciate the community. And I just wanted to say thanks. That CD hidden away in my parents' bedroom. Worst mistake of my life. Was in middle school at the beach with my parents, siblings and a bunch of our family friends and their kids. Went into the water with a few other kids my age. Waves weren't crazy, but high enough to jump into. While waded in waist-chest height. One girl had her 2-piece swimsuit knocked half off and didn't notice. We were both like 12 and I didn't even know WTF to say, so I just stared dumbly. After a few seconds she realized what had happened because I was just standing there mouth agape, so she quickly turned around to tie her bikini back on. The other kids were a ways down the beach and didn't notice. Or didn't say anything. Her and I never spoke about it. We didn't really hang out much as we got older and I'm pretty sure this incident was partially why lol. My dad, as he was dying at the hospital. Behind curtains in the getting the defibrillator applied to him. Unfortunately I saw his body arch on the table. I found a pink veiny silicone dildo with a butt plug in a drawer while cleaning out a spare room I let out to a couple and their 2 children. When I returned it they swore it wasn't Tier. A man being shot to death by police. It was a blink and you miss it. I just looked from the bus window as it passed through. I volunteered at a hospital when I was in high school. One time they brought in an unconscious woman, intubated her, and left me alone to take notes and hang around. Well, the nurse made a mistake and put the air tube in her esophagus. So the lady started to blow up like a balloon. After a few minutes, she goes into cardiac arrest, still super swollen like a balloon. And the doctor and more nurses get called in to try and revive her. The doctor starts giving CPR. Then looks over at me and says, "Get this frocking kid out of here." I'm pretty sure that lady did not survive. In 7th grade we had co-ed PE. When I sat down in the next class one noticed the girl next to me was unbuttoning her shirt in class. She'd gotten the 2 sides buttons out of order after PE and was fixing it. I saw her bra and a little skin, but that was pretty exciting in 7th grade and she became a lot cuter and daring in my eyes. Edit. Nah. She married the guy who took her to HS prom. He's now a fundamentalist preacher and she's probably 100 pounds heavier. I wonder what happened and if she thinks about it. My dad's grinder. He is to this day still with my mom but is cheating on her and they won't separate until after my grandfather dies. BC he doesn't wanna come out, which is his right, but frock him for bringing my mom to this and making her a beard. Edit. It isn't a consensual arrangement. My mom is making do with the situation and cares too much about my dad to do anything. I would have been down if it was consensual, but he cheated plain and simple and hurt my mom, which is why I'm upset. I'm not gonna tell anyone. BC I don't wanna have to bear the city consequences of his actions. He deserves to be the one who has to deal with the fallout, not my mom and I. Like I'm deaf bitter about him cheating and hurting my mom, not the gay part. I was renting a house with my father for a while after moving to a new city. Walked into the lounge room at about 9 p.m. one night to pass on a message from my brother. His girlfriend was giving him a blowjob on my couch. We all just kind of froze. I relayed the message and ran back to my room. As a child, I was fascinated by the glowing cabinet in the garage which had the doors held closed with a chain and padlock. We were supposed to pretend it wasn't there. I eventually managed to get the doors open enough to peek and it was just plants and a light. Very disappointing. It took a few years for the moment. My mother getting railed on by two guys in the tent my sister and I were also sleeping in. I love my mum but Jesus she made some bad parenting decisions. Not the worst, but when my granddad died I decided to scout his room to make sure there was nothing that would upset my grandmother. Man, he liked porn. I took it all, bagged it and binned. While I was working at CVS, a customer asked me for help in the photo section. He could not figure out how to select photos to print out and how to send them to CVS since our machine was not working. Obviously I had to help him. Without hesitation he hands me his phone because he is an older man who is not good with technology. I grab it, ask him what photos he wants printed out and makes me scroll up and I see the gallery filled with anginas. Different ones. He was trying to print out soccer pictures but I saw everything. I pretended not to see and he anxiously starts pressing the 3 buttons on the bottom of his Android phone and it goes back to his internet browser where each page was a different porn site. I never felt so uncomfortable. By the way, I was 16 at the time. Grandma giving herself the ol' hand shandy. At university, I said goodbye to my teacher and left. I realized I had to go back and ask him something. So I did. And I entered his office to see him changing his pants with his dig out. It was awkward, but clearly an accident. So we were mature about it and never spoke of it again. Reddit 50/50. That shit is scary. How about one that doesn't involve genitals? My friend worked for his dad who was continuing the family piano business. I came across the pricing sheets and saw what they paid for pianos and what their retailer recommended they sell them for. Of course there's a markup, but you'd think it's only double, or at least that's what I thought. Nope. It's like 4 to 5 times markup in general. People are used to pianos being expensive so they play on that. It's, of course, greater as the quality goes up. That grand piano that costs as much as a Mercedes is like $8,000 for them if I remember correctly. My grandfather's 50-year-old penis. Edit. I was maybe 8 when I saw this. He's almost 60 now. I was trying to find my grandmother and it just so happened that my grandfather was showering. So I got to see him in all his glorious nudity. I saw like everything. Everything. I will never be able to unsee it. I was genuinely scarred from that experience. A guy on a bike. My buddies and I were on his porch. Kinda late at night. A dude rides by on a bike and we think it's kind of weird but don't think much of it. About 5 minutes later a dude with a gun came up to us and asked if we saw a dude in a bike. We all said we didn't see shit. A vendor's internal messaging on a video conference saying, "These guys are as holes." After we called them out on their issues. This person went silent the rest of the call and has been super nice and accommodating for weeks after. Seeing a post of a friend of mine announcing their imminent suicide. As for my reaction, I immediately contacted them and the emergency number. Then, as soon as they told me the address, I quickly got dressed and rushed out of the house. Parents weren't home. I think I ran across the city to reach them, also trying to contact their significant one. When my friend wasn't answering, I assumed the worst. But then the significant one got a call saying that they were hospitalized. They're still alive, but the memory of that post will live forever in my mind. It was 2019. Mom's cousin, his wife and 4 daughters stayed over for a week. We lived abroad. I was asked to open a YouTube video for the kid from the mother's phone, but didn't know how to spell what they asked me to search. I'd already pressed the search bar so the previous search history came up. As I was handing the phone to the husband who was trying to help me, we both spotted the same thing at the same time. 18+6. We both acted like we didn't see it and tried to just move on. I'd also given her my own bed to sleep on. Edit. Had to make it clearer that this was her most recent search. When I was a kid, I had a driver who I asked if I could borrow his phone to play games on it. As a curious child, I also looked through his pictures and found a photo of a fully naked girl. I was probably around 7 so I was confused. And I showed it to him and asked who that was. He panicked, snatched back his phone, and said, "That's my daughter." I was super young and innocent and didn't really question it that much. But now that I think about it I realize how fucked up that was. A cockroach in my sandwich. As a guy who works in IT, far too many friends coworkers denude. They tend to ask me to look into any sort of issue and I never take it away unless it's something that might take hours, and even then I don't go looking for anything because it's like snooping around someone's place. They let you into to fix something while they're out but I just keep finding them. I mean, at this point handing off your device to someone is a pretty intimate act, but secure your sensitive material. I try to act like a doctor with dry humor, but if I can find them this easy and I'm seriously not trying, just imagine a determined attacker who isn't as laissez-faire as I am. That might not be a very good outcome. The owner of the theater chain I worked for was taking a photo with his girlfriend. Can't remember, but I think he left his wife for her. They were facing toward the lobby with their backs to the concession stand where I was. He slipped his hand in her pants and squeezed her ass real hard. I wanted to say, "Hey bud, your employees don't wanna see that." My friend's titty. First titty I ever saw. 10 out of 10. Many things. My dad's grow room was probably the most chill thing though, lol. He taught my brother and I about it and how it helps those with cancer and such. He goes out to sufferers' homes and gives some weed to them to help. He also has diabetes and it tends to help him too. It's strictly medical. He recently had to stop though BC his hands aren't doing so good. Sadly that's just what diabetes does. Oh boy. Quite a few. I'll go with this one, since it has a distinct flavor from most of the others. When I was in college, a beautiful sunny day, late morning in May, a friend and I decided to skip class and go playing pool at a nearby tavern. A few beers and games later, the lunch rush being over, the place was empty save for one waiter and us. Two huge guys with sunglasses and trench coats. Unwarranted. Remember, nice and sunny. Enter the joint. Take 3 steps and stop. It was clear that the waiter knew who they were. Within 30 seconds he gave them a bundle of bills which immediately disappeared in a pocket. The guys turned and left. Not a word was said. Until then I thought that the mafia was some kind of urban legend and very far removed from my sheltered life. 2 parts to this one. Partner at the time found my Reddit account and followed me, not knowing Reddit had recently implemented a new feature allowing you to see your followers' usernames. Once I noticed, I found a ton of stuff I didn't want to see on his account. Guess we both lost that round. Post-death I was going through some of my grandma's stuff. What to throw away, what to keep, what to donate, etc. I ended up coming across a stack of magazines. Some were like People magazine, some were catalogs. Nothing too bad. One that really took the cake was this magazine that I guess was just another catalog. There were clothes, electronics, bicycles, all that jazz. But then I got to the toys section. My grandma had circled various dildos and written notes about each of them. What kind of settings? Not as big as Steve. Listed next to a 9-incher. I'd get this if it were only cheaper. What made it all worse was going through her bedside dresser and finding what was very clearly the Purring Panther. From page 23. Edit. Steve was my grandfather, by the way. Found out a company I worked for was overbilling a massive corporation when I was troubleshooting report generation. I was fired 2 weeks after discovering. The entire department was let go 2 weeks after that. My brother relieving his newlywed wife of her virginity.